I met Tua at a physics conference in Geneva. She was brilliant, beautiful, and confident. Her intelligence was captivating. Her smile could light up a room. I was drawn to her immediately. We spent hours talking, lost in our own world. Our conversations were effortless, flowing from quantum physics to our shared love for Chinese cuisine. We were inseparable during the conference. I was completely smitten. Tua was from Xi'an, a city steeped in history and culture. She spoke of it with such passion. I was captivated by her stories of ancient emperors and terracotta warriors. She made me want to experience it all firsthand. I was falling for her and I fell hard. The conference was coming to a close. We were both melancholic, knowing our time together was ending. We shared a bottle of wine in my hotel room, the air thick with unspoken emotions. We talked for hours, our connection deepening with every shared laugh and stolen glance. The conversation turned more personal, revealing our vulnerabilities and dreams. I felt a closeness I had never experienced before. One thing led to another, and we ended up in bed together. It felt right, natural, a culmination of the intense connection we had built over the past few days. The next morning, Tua was gone. I woke up to an empty bed and a note thanking me for a wonderful time. I was disappointed but understood. We lived different lives on opposite sides of the world. 11 years passed. I hadn't heard from Tua. The memory of our encounter faded, becoming a bittersweet memory. I had moved on with my life, building a successful career and a comfortable life. Then, one ordinary afternoon, a letter arrived. The return address was from Xi'an. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't seen that name in over a decade. Tua's words jumped out at me as I unfolded the letter. She had given birth to a baby girl 11 years ago. A daughter. My daughter. She explained she hadn't wanted to disrupt my life. She had chosen to raise Su Li on her own. A wave of emotions crashed over me. Shock, confusion, anger, betrayal. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Why hadn't she told me? How could I have been a father all these years and not known? I looked at the picture that Tua had enclosed. A beautiful young girl with her mother's eyes stared back at me. I felt an instant connection, a pull towards this stranger who was my flesh and blood. The betrayal cut deep, but it was overshadowed by the overwhelming feeling of being a father. This little girl, Su Li, deserved to know her father. I deserved to know her. I booked a flight to Xi'an the next day. The decision was instinctive, unquestionable. The thought of meeting my daughter filled me with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. What would she be like? Would she accept me? The long flight gave me time to process my emotions. I thought about all the years I had lost. I imagined Su Li's life, her likes and dislikes. I yearned to be a part of it. Landing in Xi'an was surreal. The city pulsed with life, a stark contrast to my quiet, predictable world. I felt a strange sense of belonging, of coming home, even though I had never been there before. Tua met me at the airport. Time had treated her kindly. She was still beautiful, but her face now held a depth I didn't remember. We stood there for a moment, a silent acknowledgement of the past and the uncertain future that lay ahead. The ride to her apartment was a blur of unfamiliar sights and sounds. I was overwhelmed but excited. Soon I would meet Su Li, my daughter. Tua had prepared a simple meal. We ate in awkward silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice hoarse with emotion. Tua looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and regret. "I was scared," she admitted. "I didn't want to disrupt your life, to burden you with a child." She explained that she had been young and afraid. She hadn't wanted to trap me into a life I wasn't ready for. I listened, trying to understand. In the end, we were both victims of a situation that had spiraled out of control. Despite the anger and resentment, I knew I couldn't change the past. It was time to focus on the future, on building a relationship with my daughter. "Can I see her?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Su Li was everything I had imagined and more. She was intelligent, curious, and had a mischievous sparkle in her eyes that reminded me so much of her mother. We spent the afternoon playing games, sharing stories, and getting to know each other. She was hesitant at first, shy and unsure of this stranger who claimed to be her father. But as the day progressed, her laughter filled the room, washing away the awkwardness and replacing it with a tentative bond of love. I saw myself in her mannerisms, her love for books, her quick wit. It was a surreal and beautiful experience, like looking into a mirror reflecting a future I hadn't known existed. As the day drew to a close, I knew I couldn't leave. I had to be a part of Sue Lee's life, no matter how difficult it might be. "I want to be here for you, Sue Lee," I told her, my voice thick with emotion. "I know I wasn't there for you before, but I promise to make it up to you." Sue Lee looked at me, her eyes wide with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. I could see the unspoken question in her eyes. Would I stay? "I'm not going anywhere," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. I knew in that moment that my life had changed forever, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of adjustments. I moved into a hotel nearby and spent every day with Sue Lee and Tua. We explored the wonders of Xi'an together, visiting ancient temples, marveling at the terracotta army, and savoring the local cuisine. I got to know Sue Lee, her likes and dislikes, her dreams and fears. I discovered a love for calligraphy, a talent for playing the piano, and a passion for astronomy. We were building a bond, slowly but surely, brick by brick. Tua and I navigated the complexities of our past, our conversations a mix of forgiveness, regret, and a shared hope for the future. We were no longer lovers, but co-parents, united by our love for Sue Lee. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I was determined to make the best of it. I rented an apartment in Xi'an, a place where Sue Lee could visit, and we could spend time together. I was learning Mandarin, stumbling through conversations with Sue Lee and Tua. My life was no longer my own, and that was both terrifying and exhilarating. I had a daughter, a family, a reason to be in Xi'an. This ancient city, once a distant dream, was now my home. As I watched Sue Lee laugh with her friends, her laughter echoing through the air, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. I had a second chance at fatherhood, a chance to create new memories, to build a future filled with love, laughter, and the joy of family. This was my new beginning.